Oho, hosela kiaj mujuvo, kiot a adwok tudwo. Kilku oe kutsek at oe kuts, as o fenovik nufed.
Yeah, whatever the talking floating furry head just said. Yes, this is Star Fox Adventures, released in 2002 for the Nintendo GameCube. And while this game is interesting enough on its own, it is most remembered for two things. First, it was developer Rare's last game on a Nintendo console before they were bought out by Microsoft. And second, being a completely different game during development. At one time, this was supposed to release on the Nintendo 64 with no association with Star Fox whatsoever. While I won't go into its development on the N64, there are plenty of videos on YouTube about the topic, and even a build of it leaked a while ago. Just know that the game was originally called Dinosaur Planet, which is also where the game takes place. And there's only a couple of segments of the game that plays like the other entries in the Star Fox franchise. So the Star Fox universe was obviously forced into the game late into development. In the beginning of the game, you play as everyone's furry fantasy Crystal the Fox, but you only play as her for about 30 minutes or so, in what is a tutorial and story setup segment. She then gets captured, only then do we switch over to the Star Fox bros we all know and actually care about.
Hey! Slippy, it's General Pepper!
For the rest of the game, you play as Fox McCloud, who is tasked with saving Dinosaur Planet from General Scales, who has split up the globe. At first, you're doing all this so you can add a lot of zeros to your bank account, but halfway along the way you see, you know who.
Wow, she's beautiful.
And want to save her to get some foxy on your dick. That is seriously the plot. This is not a joke. Along the way, you get Crystal's staff, which she dropped after she was captured, and it will be your main tool and weapon throughout the game. Also, you'll meet Tricky the Dinosaur, who is pretty much your sidekick and will be right alongside you the entire time. In the game, you command him to find secrets, help solve puzzles, and breathe fire on various things.
Fine.
Gameplay-wise, it feels and plays just like an N64 kiddie adventure game. You'll be discovering new powers or moves to tackle certain situations, defeating bosses, and solving puzzles. Like Rare's other games of the time, you'll have to backtrack a bit, but nothing on the level of Donkey Kong 64. I found that mostly everything I needed to progress through the story or level was always readily available nearby. Your staff that shoots fireballs and other abilities takes energy which you regain from these jewels that are on plants or sometimes dropped from enemies. Displayed in the lower right hand corner are the variety items you will need, like seeds to blow a hole in the wall or even mushrooms to feed Tricky to do all of his actions. No matter if it was seeds to grow a ladder or gems to fill your energy meter, all the items usually are right where you need them. Which, thank God, because a lot of these puzzles require you to shoot targets with a fireball. Would have been a pain in the ass if I couldn't refill the meter easily. The puzzles in the game I never found to be too difficult. This is after all a game with a focus on a younger audience. Only at the end did I notice a difficulty increase of any kind in the puzzles. But even then, they were all pretty straightforward, even for a dumbass like me. In between each level, you will play a small segment of that OG style Star Fox I mentioned in the beginning of the review. You have to collect a certain number of gold rings to land on the new area, And that is all the spaceflight you will do in Star Fox Adventures. So the part that resembles all the other Star Fox games is really only a stopgap between levels. Which is really sad because these parts were actually pretty fun.
It did it, Fox! The force field is down!
Even though this is a relatively early GameCube game, it still looks pretty good, I think. All the environments are bright and colorful. It runs at a pretty good frame rate as well. Not a constant 60, mind you, but for a GameCube release, it is pretty solid. I think the part you can tell this game was moved from the N64 is in the music department. Many of the tunes that played sounded like they could have come from any of Rare's titles from that 5th generation of consoles. Another area where the N64 rears its head is in how Star Fox Adventures controls. Not to say it controls horribly, but it is clearly changed to the GameCube controller without fully utilizing the second analog stick. For selecting items and spells in your inventory, you use the right analog stick. The left stick is used for movement as it should be, but to change the camera position, you tap the L trigger to move the camera to wherever Fox is facing. So in other words, the controls make it feel like you are using an N64 controller, even though you aren't. There is even no jump button. When Fox goes across a gap, he automatically jumps. These weird controls were never a problem throughout my playthrough, but just were an interesting thing that I had to get used to. Awkward controls aside, I never found myself getting lost in the various levels you can explore. At almost any time you can call on your best bro Slippy, who will let you know what you have to do next. And then you can call on Peppy, who will show you an overhead map on where to go. You can also purchase these maps from a merchant in the beginning of the game that show up on your mini-map in the lower left-hand corner. So unlike Rare's other adventure games, this one is pretty hard to get lost in, which certainly helped a lot playing through this thing. Back to how the game looks, this is one of the few GameCube games that supports 480p and widescreen. A lot of GameCube games support 480p, but only a few support widescreen with it. You top that with the game supporting Dolby Pro Logic 2 surround sound, and this game is one of the few that utilize everything this system has to offer. Certainly nice features to have when playing and upscaling it in the modern day. A friend was commenting on how I don't need to say if the game sounds good or has good surround sound in my reviews, but honestly a lot of people forget how important sound is in a game and when playing it as well. And honestly, the unfortunate souls that say it isn't important usually have bad speakers. So buddy, I know you're listening out there, get a better speaker setup, man. Also, it's my channel, so f*** off. Next time I see you in person, it's on site. As for negatives, the only real problem I had with Star Fox Adventures is when you discover a new item. Whether it be a useful new item you will use for the rest of the game or a certain key for a door, a 4-second cutscene and music jingle will play. They were obviously copying when Link opens a chest in Zelda, but the difference is the Zelda chest opening tune is iconic. The Star Fox Adventures one is not. While this is not a problem on items, it plays this little scene for every story item or key you pick up. so get used to seeing Fox's excited face for some of the stupidest items in existence. Another negative is the voice acting. It's just plain bad, not even so bad it's good. Which is a shame because they had this so bad it's good dialogue in the beginning of the game. The time where you play as Crystal and before you get a translator as Fox, all the dinosaurs talk in this weird made-up language mixed in with named locations. Honestly, they should have kept that going through all throughout the game. That stupid language combined with Fox's late 90s cool guy accent would have been so much funnier.
I can't understand you.
There are only a handful of enemies you'll encounter in your time on Dinosaur Planet. The most common are the henchmen of the main bad guy who only require an ass whooping from your staff. Other enemies require you to be quick on the draw before they hide in the ground. But my favorite enemy has got to be this dude. You freak him out by doing an earthquake move you learn, and they just flail their arms and spin around until you hit them in the back. Like, just look at him, dude. He looks so fucking stupid. There are a couple of boss fights, all of which I never found to be too difficult. There was only one I had a problem with, but that was because the fight was more annoying than fun. In that one, you're pretty much on a House of the Dead style shooting guide, or shooting rail I should say, and just have to spam the A button to fire at him until he's dead. Yeah, this boss fight really sucked after like 5 minutes. This game is pretty decent in length. It took me about 14 hours or so to beat it. Price-wise, it can be had right now for around $40, which is a pretty decent price when compared to some of the other GameCube exclusive games. Why the hell are some of these games so expensive, man? Other than some problems I had with the game, Star Fox Adventures was a decent experience overall. While it may be more known as being Rare's last game before joining up with Microsoft, I am sure the game has its fans, which I am not one of them. I am just happy that I finally beat the game that I always see online and forget I have on my shelf. Another check mark to my backlog. Yippee. If you consider yourself a Nintendo GameCube aficionado and have not yet played Star Fox Adventures, I would say give it a try, as it is Rare's last Nintendo game both literally and figuratively, as the game plays just like one of their N64 games. So it's got some quirks, but it is a nice journey through a dinosaur/furry fantasy planet. So take a trip to Dinosaur Planet in Star Fox Adventures.